For me, I think there's a real conversation to be having that, with the right signings, could you guys be potentially in for the title race next season?
This is where the saying "you don't understand it's the Scousers" coming in.
Hello, and welcome back to episode 3 of the McGilli-Park podcast. My name is Liam, and I am with the wonderful and only Alex Maguire. Alex, I can see you wearing your Manchester United top, so it's obviously been a very, very, very good time for yourselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you remember in episode 2, I said the ultimate test was against Liverpool, and boy, did it prove to be an ultimate test. Even though certain periods of the game we were absolutely coasting, but this is where the saying "you don't understand it's the Scousers" coming in. They will always come back. They will always come back. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy that we got the win. Over the moon. I didn't really care what the score was as long as we beat them. And that's what we did. And also, we have secured Champions League qualification for the first time in 2 years.
I think as well, obviously as Man United fans, obviously, it's so important to beat Liverpool. It's one of the biggest rivalries in world football and how much it means to the Manchester United fans. And Liverpool are going to be devastated. It's the first time since the 2014-15 season, I think, that you've done the double
Yeah.
over them. I think that's right. Do correct me if I'm wrong. And
Yeah.
I just think I think Man United have needed this for a while. And I think I truly believe that one of the reasons you've been far superior this season in comparison to last season, or maybe the season before even, is because one, you're not playing Champions League football, and two, I honestly have this theory that if the fans are happy, I think your players play with a lot less pressure on because things are positive and things are
Mm.
upbeat. I do believe there's like a mental pressure that sort of is elevated off of them, if that makes sense. And I think it
Yeah.
allows them to play with a bit more freedom. Even when they got back into the game 2-2, I always, and this is from a neutral perspective, I always thought United were going to get that third. I never, if it was last season, I think you would have lost. But this season, it's a different Manchester United team. And you can start to see what's being built, in my opinion. And I think there's
Yeah.
some real, for me, I think there's a real conversation to be having that, with the right signings, could you guys be potentially in for the title race next season?
Usually it's me with the delusional train. No, I would agree with that, but I feel it's too early to say. I mean, obviously, I would love to dream that next season could be our season. Given the current situation, I think it might be a season too early to start talking about title.
Mhm.
Um, Look at me being all realistic. What's going on
I'm not
there?
used to it. I'm not used to
No,
it.
neither am I. I feel ill. Check my temperature.
Yeah.
But probably in 2 seasons' time, you will see what we're seeing now develop into something more, what's the word I'm looking for? More fluid, if that makes sense. It's like a flower. So currently we're planting the seeds and we're just waiting for the flower to grow and the water, and if we keep feeding it with the water and everything else, you'll see. And then when it grows, that's when we get the title.
And the players are the
Hopefully,
fertilizer.
and the players are the fertilizer, and the fans need the element as well, and everything else. But yeah, I mean, do we dare to dream? Of course we do. Every team in the Premier League or in any other league dares to dream that this or next season could be their season.
I tell you what,
Um,
what does
yeah,
Manchester United need? In what positions do you feel that Manchester United have to strengthen in order to compete with the likes of Arsenal, City, and I know you're not going to like his, but I think Liverpool will have a bit of a dodgy start, but you never
yeah,
know, they could come back into the
yeah.
race. What do you need do you feel in the positions, and what players do you think would really benefit that team to start, then you could start dreaming of this and start then considering? Because like with Arsenal, it took time for them to get to where they are. But
Yeah,
ultimately speaking, I think you're two signings off realistically of maybe winning it. I think I'd say two or
yeah.
three, and if you get those right, because then you've got a bigger depth with more quality in. I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility. I
No,
think, and that's what I'm gonna say. So where do you think you need to strengthen? And who do you need?
Uh, Hard to say, really. I think it's not necessarily a player standpoint. I mean, obviously, we need to strengthen defence, midfield, be more clinical up front. You kind of see that in Sheshko at the moment. Um, the Casemiro going though in midfield, that's going to be a huge, huge void to fill.
Hmm.
Considering what he's done at Real Madrid, and obviously he might, he's won an FA Cup with us, and wanted to say Europa League, but I could be definitely wrong on that one. I think, but he's done well, obviously, but Casemiro's shoes are going to be absolutely massive to fill.
I was gonna say I'm really really chuffed for Casemiro as well because you think there's the famous line Jamie Carragher said when he was saying leave the football before the football leaves you, and he was having such a horrid time of it, wasn't he, Casemiro? I mean,
Yeah, he was.
and I could understand it. I think it was completely valid from a Manchester United fan's perspective because it was just, I mean, he was terrible at point. Do you know what I mean? And you sort of felt like his legs had left him, but to sort of have the
Yeah,
season that he's had, and I think he's finishing on a good note. And it's the best time to finish your career. Leave on a high. Don't leave when because
yeah,
you'll be remembered for that last bad bit of your career, but leave on a bang. And I think he's doing the right thing. I think it's going to be a shame, but I do agree. I think a midfielder, a defensive midfielder, would probably be really beneficial for yourselves. I think there's
yeah,
some really, really good talent out there, and I think Manchester United, especially this new project, and as you say, like with the flower growing and you've just planted the seeds, I think I do think this could really, really attract some big players, especially really hot prospects. But I think the main thing is you've got to buy the finished product. Someone who's already
yeah,
experienced, someone who's already doing it at the moment. And I think that's what you've got to aim for as well.
yeah. I mean, as I say, I mean, Casemiro, I have to admit, it was like you in episode two with some of the players that West Ham had that like, oh yeah, they're not West Ham material. I wasn't quite like that with Casemiro. I was admitting to the fact that oh, his legs have gone, he's completely useless. What is he doing? Why am I
Mm.
now? Whose turn is it to eat humble pie? And yes, give me a biggest slice with custard, whatever. I don't care what it is. I am so happy for Casemiro. I really am. And he has proved me wrong, which, as in life, a lot of people do. But, but
But you like
no, I
those
mean,
players more, don't you? You like those players
yes,
even
you
more
do.
because
You do.
they've gone through. And I think as a way as football fans, we are the biggest. As fans, we have the right to critique players if they're not quite doing it. And I think that's what similar with certain West Ham players. It's kind of what you like about them more when they prove you wrong, especially if you're one of the
Yeah.
people's biggest critics. And I can understand it from yourself if you really like Casemiro more than you did because obviously everyone had gone and here he is. You're all going to miss him now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we are.
It's mad
Well,
how it swings and roundabouts.
I would have missed him anyway, regardless, because he's played for United. I mean, he's been one of those in the past, what, season and a half. He's been one of those talismanic players of almost of old of United. And it's like, wow, you've really come into your own here. Um, I mean, could we have got the Casemiro of Real Madrid? Possibly not, but he's evolved. Casemiro of United, I think, if we were to compare Casemiro, Real Madrid Casemiro, and United Casemiro, well, unfortunately, there'll be no comparison. But he's more experienced, more um, he's adapted well, and that's what I think, and more resilient too. After his period of injury, after his period of um, his lack of confidence, he's really been resilient, and that is what United need more, despite all the new signings that may or may not come in, is mental resilience. We've not really been in a situation where we could challenge for titles, and we need to see that resilience more and more in the rest of this season and more next season. And then we will see how resilient you are if you're going to challenge for the big one. And
Yeah.
but yeah, I think a huge improvement under Amorim at the start of this season from when he came in, in November or last year or the year before, to Carrick now. And that's another thing. I would give that man a job. I would give that man the job. I
Yeah.
really would. I know we've tried it with Ollie before. Didn't quite work out with Ollie. As heartbreaking it is to say,
Do you know? I mean, that's the
yeah,
thing that's the thing as well, isn't it? It's one of them where I think, as I say, I think it's been a marvelous turnaround from yourselves because in comparison to last season where you were, finishing 15th in the league, you had a heartbreaking Europa League final against Spurs. If you're over it at all, it
no.
was it was a very
Thanks
strange
for
time.
reminding me.
It was a really strange time for Manchester United, I think, and it was because in my life, all I've ever known them is to be successful in the top four, competing for
Yeah,
titles. It was a very very strange time. Like I don't think anyone could ever have predicted them to be where they are. I think I think to myself, you're spot on. You're definitely right. You've got to kick on for this. You've got to go out there, get the right players, and etc. etc. I think in terms of your manager, and that as you come on to it, that was going to be my next question.
mm.
Who would you want to give it to Carrick? Because at the moment you've got
Yeah.
the bookies at the moment are saying Michael Carrick has a 75% chance of getting it. Andoni
Well,
Areola, and
yeah.
then Oliver Glasner, Nagelsmann, and Pochettino are in there, and a really outsider shout. You've got Unai Emery and Gareth Southgate who are also linked with the Manchester United job. But do you feel that Michael Carrick should have this? And as I say, you said about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Is
Hmm.
there a risk that potentially the history could repeat itself? Now things could all be all golden now, but next
Yeah.
season you're going to have a bit, you're going to get a bigger squad. You're going to have Champions League games you're going to be playing. You're going to be competing on all fronts. The real question is, I think, and I'm not saying it's not great how you've done at the moment, by all means, and
No.
credit to Manchester United where it's due. The only thing I say is you haven't had as many games to play as the likes of Liverpool, Manchester United, Liverpool, Manchester City, Chelsea. They've had to play more games of all these games, whereas Man United haven't had as many.
I think Carrick will guide them through that experience because obviously he's been there, done it, got the jigsaw, got the t-shirt, got the mug, got
Got
all
the
the
jigsaw.
souvenirs from the souvenir shops. He's got everything
I'm just
through
imagining
that.
Michael Carrick with a jigsaw piece of a football pitch, and he's putting his players in where he
Well,
wants.
but that leads us on nicely to because he's already put the pieces in of what he wants to do.
Mhm.
So he's managing the Champions League, okay, albeit it was what 2 years ago when we were last in it, or 2 or 3 years ago when we had another managerial change during the Champions League. He managed it, managed us in it. Fantastic record. I mean, he's undefeated. Well, I was going to say he's undefeated, but he's only had two losses in his managerial career at Manchester United. That's some of the best records that no permanent manager has ever had.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
that's right.
why would you not give it
Mhm.
to Carrick? He's managed, like I say, he's managed us in the Champions League before. He would guide us through guide the current team in through that. He's played for different competitions with United. Again, that'll be resilience and fitness, and and he's got a fantastic second in command with Steve Holland, who's managed England, who's done it before with Chelsea as well. Um, yeah, I can't see. I know there's always the risk of history repeating itself, but I can't see any other person that is right for that job
Yeah,
at this moment in time. Like I can't, we've tried a different manager. Like, I mean, Southgate. I respect Southgate. Fantastic manager. What he did with England, guiding us to semi-finals in the World Cup in Russia 2018, two finals in the Euros, and a quarter final in last World Cup in 2022. I don't. I would find it hard to adjust from international football to club football again. I mean, it's a different mentality. I mean, Tuchel's done it with, the other way around. But yeah, I don't think he fits the Manchester United psyche. Neither does Pochettino. Again, I respect him. He is in charge of the Americans at the moment. Nagelsmann, I mean, he's done that with, was it Bayern Munich? Bayern Munich, I think. It didn't quite work out for him at Bayern Munich, I don't think.
Do you know what it is as well? And I think this
Yeah.
is half the challenge that a lot of the managers have, and this is why I really admire managers such as Arsene Wenger, Pep Guardiola, and Alex Ferguson, because it's not just about the
Mm.
tactics. It's not just about that. Like they are also sort of psychologists in a way, aren't they? They have to be able
Yes.
to, speak to certain players in certain ways to get the best out of them, and also the players have got to buy in to what these managers are trying to set. Now, one of the things I mean, look, maybe you'll know more about this than I will in terms of Ruben Amorim, but I think one and Ten Hag was the fact
Mm.
of I think the problem that these managers had was I think a lot of the players that you have currently didn't buy into what they were trying to do. I never thought, even last season, I never thought it was about Manchester United not having the quality to go on and compete for Europe and compete for these all the trophies.
Mm.
I truly think it was more of a mentality issue in the sense of I never felt like last season, which is a prime example, I never thought those players bought into what Ruben Amorim was doing. The season before, Ten Hag. I never felt like those group of players were buying into what they wanted to do. And I think the unique thing with Michael Carrick for me is that I think all these players are. I think they respect him. I think they really look up to
Yeah.
him. I think it's been one of those things as well where I think it's just been nice as a breath of fresh air to the players as well. That he's I think he's really been that to them, and
Yeah.
I think that's been half the challenge. And now you have that. The real, as I say, the real test will be next season when you're playing more games. But I can see why Manchester United fans would like to go with him, especially if you've got
Mm.
this, because I think that's half the battle. Getting them on your side, doing your tactics. I think that's
Yeah.
half it. The other half is then the tactics and all the things depending on the team you're playing.
Carrick knows some of the players anyway from his first time being caretaker manager. He knows Fernandez. I think he was Casemiro played under him as well. Maguire, Kobe Mainu has already spoken out and said, "Look, we want Michael Carrick as manager." Of course, he would say that because he was completely out in the cold with under Ruben Amorim.
And you think Kobe Mainu scored your winner as well. I mean, you can
Yeah.
see how much it meant to him as well.
Oh,
Do you know what I mean? And in
absolutely.
yeah, and like he's someone did he come through your academy?
Yes, he did.
I mean,
I
do you
think
know
there
how
was a
much that mean
record.
as well? He's come through your ranks and then done that.
I mean, he's always been a brilliant player for us. Like I say, he didn't get the chance under Amorim. Amorim, I felt sorry for him at the time, um, and I still do to a certain extent. But the more I think about it, he went the same way as Ten Hag, stubborn, set in his ways, refused to change. Now, with Carrick, I don't feel like that's a problem at all. He's not stubborn. He's not afraid to change. He recognizes, right, something's going on. We need to do this. We need to do that. He changes according to the situation. Whereas I think Amorim and Ten Hag, to a point, made either panic substitutions or no substitutions at all. He's still in it's still in a player. It's still a player in a way, but mentally,
Mhm.
all right, I can see that needs happening. How about this? That needs changing, or that player needs coming off. We need to change the system a bit.
I think
Now,
it helps as well that he
yeah,
played for you, as you say, as he played for you. I think that already wins, like a bit like when Solskjaer come along. A very
yeah,
iconic player for you in terms of Solskjaer, and obviously he was a great player, Michael Carrick, as well for yourselves. And
yeah.
I do think that because of that, he's already got a lot of the fans on his side already. Especially if you're a Manchester United fan that really liked him, which I think. I mean, you're
Oh,
better to speak more. I'm sure all Man United fans like him. I'd be surprised if it
well,
wasn't.
absolutely.
We even like we still like West Ham. I do anyway. I don't know about the rest. Yeah, I'm not sure what West Ham fans think. I don't know. Don't tell me off if any West Ham fans. Well, I don't know that, but I would say like Marco. It wasn't in my time, but I do know that he gave everything for the club and gave everything on the pitch.
I
Um,
mean, there've been iconic West Ham players, just aside from all that.
John
There's been
Terry, Rio
iconic.
Ferdinand, Michael Carrick, Glenn
Oh,
Johnson, Jermaine Defoe, Joe Cole. Yeah,
yeah.
you keep going.
Paolo Di
Declan Rice.
Canio.
Yeah.
Paolo Di Canio. Oh,
Oh.
he was a feisty one, wasn't he? Blimey.
However,
Um,
I've got to
but
say,
yes.
from a Liverpool perspective, now, there's, I mean, as I say, we give all credit to Manchester United, but from a Liverpool perspective, I do you know what? As I say, I still. I think Arne Slot is a very, very lucky man that he is able because
Mm-hmm.
they've got fair play to the owners of Liverpool. They're patient
Yeah.
with their managers. They don't just do what they do. I remember Brendan Rodgers the season before he finished sixth after coming second to almost win the league, and they booted him out the door next season when it started off badly. Now have got a record of being patient with this. Obviously with Jurgen Klopp it was
Yes.
different. He was successful. He obviously had a good tenure, and obviously he finished on a good note, and then gave it to Arne Slot. Now I'm going to say this. I honestly think when Arne Slot won the league last season, it was a very good Jurgen Klopp team that he inherited. He didn't do much
Yeah.
different. But I,
Yeah.
what I don't,
He didn't.
hmm,
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt. He didn't need to do too much with that one. Now, I'm going to say something, despite my pride of being a Manchester United fan. Commiserations to Liverpool. I understand their pain of losing such a massive game. Believe me, I've
been there
been
many
there. You've
times.
seen it. You've seen it many, many times. And I do feel sorry for them. And like, that's why I say it's one of the most brilliant sporting rivalries. That's why I called it the Battle of Supremacy. I mean, we have El Clasico with Real Madrid, Barcelona, but this is our version of El Clasico. But you can't really call it El Clasico,
Yeah, of
so we
course.
call it the Battle of for Supremacy, really,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it is one of those games because they've both been so successful. Um, but yeah, Liverpool, the credit to them. Um, they got back into it, even though at times we probably
Silly
gifted
error.
them,
Silly error.
yeah, silly errors and gifted them, but they didn't. They weren't expecting that. They weren't pouncing on mistakes, and they were patient and had their chances when they could, and they took them. Um, so credit to Liverpool on that one.
I just don't
But yeah,
understand, like, because I just think they were their own worst enemy in a sense in that game, really. And the thing is, when they got back to 2-2, they should have gone for the win then. They should have kicked on. It was just, I mean, listen, fair play to United. I'm going to give more credit to United the way they play. But ultimately, I just feel like I don't understand how they spent so much money in this team, and they are very unlucky with the Isak injury and how that's gone. But then Ekatike as well, which I think has been such a big miss for them. But as I say,
yes.
I think Arne Slot's very lucky that they got very patient owners because I don't like if this was Chelsea, for example, or even Manchester United. I think to an extent, some owners are not patient. So remember Abramovich, impatient. If it's
Oh,
going bad, you'll throw it out the door nearly instantly. Like
yeah.
Arne Slot will be the manager that is under the most amount of pressure next season when it starts, whether he likes it or not. Liverpool
Yeah.
must go and win again because if they don't, I can't see him being at the club much longer. I can see them replacing him.
I hope Liverpool don't do what we've done in the past. And I admire their patience. And yes, I am praising Liverpool, everybody. This is not unprecedented. Um, this, I admire their patience. I think Arne Slot, as you say, is on very thin ice. But I think there have been issues off the pitch that have exacerbated this, like Salah issue, not playing Salah enough. I think has been Liverpool's downfall. I mean, I was jumping for joy when I saw Salah on the bench. I'm like, well, hey, fantastic. United are going to win here.
It's been so weird with Salah as well, hasn't it? I mean, last season, we said
But
this in
what
the
does
first,
that do to his confidence, though?
but how on
Such a
earth?
top player.
I know, and then to basically be on the bench, but not that. In all fairness to them, though, he's not like. to be fair, he was starting the first few games of this season and he wasn't
Yeah,
the same. Do you know what I mean? And I don't, and
no,
then the thing is that I really, really like Mo Salah. And generally, he's one of my favorite footballers of all time. He goes into my all-time 11 in the Premier League if I had to
he's
put
a
one in.
fantastic player
Like
despite his
genuinely,
place.
despite exactly, even as a Manchester United fan, you can completely agree. But what I didn't like about him was the way that they're already in a bad place as it is, and he comes out on
Mm.
the news and says, "I'm unhappy here." It wasn't professional, and I just think I
No,
get it, I really, really do. And if you feel that way, fine, but do it behind closed doors. Don't do it in the public. You know what I mean? When you are the size of a football club like Liverpool, Manchester United, Man City, all them. There is so much more media and press and coverage with all those, and the pressure builds up far superior than a
yeah,
Leicester team in the Premier League. And I feel like he knew what he was doing, really. But it wouldn't surprise me next season when he's gone that he'll end up becoming like a world superstar just to say, well, it was while I was being treated at Liverpool. Do you know, it wouldn't
yeah.
surprise me.
When players got too big at Manchester United, and I'm certainly not fully accusing Salah of this because it happens in every team in the Premier League.
Ego.
But egos, yes, it grows as big as the iceberg that sank the Titanic. Um, honestly, it really does beg a belief how much player power there is. So when players got, an ego trip at Manchester United, they were out the door. They were gone. And I don't think there's enough of that these days. I think managers are too scared.
Player power.
To, yeah, I
So
think
much of it.
managers are too scared to make that decision, and that they need to stamp their authority. Has Arne Slot done that enough? Possibly not,
Mhm.
but there's doing it in a correct way and there's doing it in a wrong way. Has he done it in the wrong way? Time will tell. I mean, obviously, you're looking at it now in a way with Salah, but who else?
Mhm.
It's just
It's going to be a big. They've got the thing is
yeah,
they've got a big summer coming up, but I think it's more of a big summer for Arnie Slot than it is because I think a bit like yourselves the last season, you've got the
mm,
players, you've got it all there to go and compete and challenge and be into the European conversations. I honestly believe it's the same thing with Liverpool. They've got the players that you can
yeah,
go on ahead and go and win the league and challenge. I think it's more of a summer for Arne Slot to figure out, right, this is what's going to happen. We're going to have Isse back. We're going to have Ekatike back. Well, whenever they should have him back. I don't. You never know with injuries; they could go longer. But the point is, I mean, realistically speaking, if they are to have their whole team back, it's going to be more of a summer for him to figure out what is the best suit for these players and hopefully keep the players on board with these
yeah,
ideas. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Now times are hard.
yeah.
Like you think Arne Slot, when he got in there, he had a very good first season. It's always been good and smooth sailing. This is a bit of a test now, and test him as a character, and test him as a
Mm,
character in the sense of how's he going to navigate this hardship? Is he going to better keep the players on side? There's so much more to this Mo Salah story as well. There's so
yeah,
much more that we don't know about in where we are, and
yeah,
I do honestly think that that has had an influence in what we're seeing now with Mo Salah. But it's going to be interesting for next season. It's definitely going to be a watch point, 100%.
yeah. And I mean, I expect Liverpool next season to challenge again.
You don't mean that.
Well, maybe not for the title, but just to find some sort of their mojo back.
Thank you guys very much for watching this episode of the McGilli-Park podcast. If you have enjoyed this video, we'd be very appreciative if you could hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video as well. Part 2 will be released soon, so please stay tuned.